Hello everyone and welcome to the Winging It F1 podcast, episode 51. I am here with Nigel and Freddie as usual, but not as usual. It's a bit of a different one because no news has happened in F1. So we are going a bit abstract and we are going to be
Wait.
putting
If you want
together-
to find out the latest news, go to racingnews365.com. There we go.
If you want to find out the latest news, go to lastlap.co.uk, where you will find news on anything from Formula E to Extreme E to Formula One, a lot of WEC, and even the odd BTCC announcement. Exactly.
And luckily, Freddie is editing this and he works for Last Lap, so he can edit out Nigel's bit. But you'll have heard them both. But yes, as I said, I'm joined by Freddie and Nigel, and we are going to be putting together our dream calendar or list of tracks that we'd have on a dream calendar in F1 for, I don't know, in our dream world. But first of all, Nigel and Freddie, how are both of you?
I'm really good, actually, to be honest. I am having a decent day. I'm a bit hungover. That's why I've got an ice cream and a cup of tea to see me through the next hour or so of this podcast record. If I didn't have those, I would be slumped over the back of this chair and would not be hyper at all.
Yeah, I'm fine. I should be getting the vaccine in a couple of weeks. I found out. So that's good.
Oh, cool.
That's cool, yeah.
And you said there was no news.
Well, it's not that important, is it?
It is. It's great.
Well, the millions of listeners want to know that you're going to be vaccinated and safe from coronavirus.
And they're going to be like, how old's Nigel then?
Yeah, party around Nigel's house. But yeah, I think we will get straight into it after that bombshell piece of news that Nigel has just dropped out of nowhere. Yeah, so we have been working on it for a bit. This week we had a document between us and we all pick which tracks we want, and that's going to be kind of the set list that we're going off. So the ones that we all voted for, there are 14, which I thought was quite a high number, actually. I thought it might be around 10. But there's 14 that we all voted for and therefore are automatically in. And they are Interlagos, Sakir, Monaco, Spa, Montreal, Kota, Hungaroring, Istanbul, Singapore, Nürburgring, Red Bull Ring, Sepang, Silverstone and Suzuka. Were there any kind of surprises that jumped out to you? Because I think for me, Singapore maybe was a bit of a surprise.
Or Hungaroring. I mean,
yes,
I love the Hungaroring, but I don't know if everyone loves the Hungaroring, but seemingly we all love the Hungaroring.
Yeah, Monaco, there seems to be a lot of discontent for that every time it comes around, but all three of us have decided to pick it. The reason I chose Monaco and Singapore in particular is because the qualifying sessions there are extraordinary. I think those are probably the two best qualifying sessions of the year. We usually see the margins are quite close, at least at Monaco and at Singapore. Red Bull were closer to Mercedes and stuff, and I think it's just a fantastic track. They're both a proper driver's challenge as well, being street circuits. So those are the two main reasons. That's the main reason why I picked both of them, even though the races are not usually, wheel to wheel and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I was umming and ahhing over Singapore quite a bit. I don't think I initially put it in, but out of the street circuits we've got, I think it's one of the better ones. It's a brilliant spectacle, and yeah, I don't know. It just seems like quite a nice track, or as Nigel said, it's a challenge. As a Hamilton fan, there's quite a few good memories from there as well.
I always think with
actually. Freddie.
Sorry, I always think with these two tracks, there's I think for me they were both straight away ticks go, because I think they've got the advantage obviously of being on the calendar and having had a good few years of Formula One, but there's so much alongside them. Singapore has sort of really quickly become the other Monaco in terms of F1's like blue ribboned events, with so much going on and so much off track, as well as the intense qualifying sessions. And to be fair, relatively intriguing races quite a lot of the time. If you think about it, like the last races in Monaco with Verstappen on the back of Hamilton, I thought was one of the tensest races of 2019 live. It's not got rewatchability, but it was really interesting. And you've got a lot of interesting races that you don't necessarily get at tracks where you can just drive past someone. That, it's not necessarily great for wheel to wheel, but they've got intensity to them, and they've got so much on the outside, particularly these two, Singapore and Monaco, that just, I think, if there's any Grand Prix that I think most people are dying to go to, if they get a choice, it would be one of these two.
Yeah,
there's so much more.
And on the flip side of that, ones that none of us voted for, we did it off a list of Grade 1, FIA Grade 1 circuits, because they're the ones that are kind of, available to host a Grand Prix, eligible to host a Grand Prix. So kind of some interesting ones that weren't picked. Obviously, Abu Dhabi, Sochi, Paul Ricard. I think most people would have guessed that. Magny-Cours, Barcelona and Mexico City were also none of us picked. I think especially Mexico City, I'm not a fan of it, evidently, because I would have voted for it. But I don't know. I kind of thought that might get a mention somewhere. But
I think
clearly
it negates my previous comments about atmosphere. But I kind of think with the Mexico City, with Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, I think the Formula E track's better. And I kind of think if they did something like that, rather than just the long, straight little box, boring S's, little box in the stadium. It's like, oh, it's cool, it's a stadium, 70 laps. Oh, but the Formula E track, like when it's in the stadium, it seems to invite racing. Where it goes, it's an entirely different layout there. And I kind of think that's a bit better. I prefer that. So
yeah, I think atmosphere is good, but I don't think it should be the only reason for including it. And I think for Mexico City, it would have been the only reason for including it. Magny-Cours, Freddie, you didn't vote for that. It was a bit of a surprise, but
couldn't be bothered.
Fair enough. That is the amount of effort we are putting into this. So that's 14 already locked into the calendar. And the first thing, I guess, to decide is how many races do we want the calendar to be?
25, like Liberty Media want it.
Well, how many?
I've heard you before saying you want it less, kind of 19 or less than that. Is that correct?
If there's only 19, we can only choose 5 more.
That's true.
How many tracks have we got to go for? Probably about 15 or something that we've all been seesawing on across the document. It depends what's happening in this dream world. How many rules does it have? Like, we've got to go into the physics of the dream world. Or well, is it on like Mars where it's got a bit of a longer year or something?
No,
so we've got more weeks to do it.
No, it's a normal 52-week year. I kind of thought.
Okay, got to weigh that into it then.
I thought 21 to 23.
All right, let's go with 21.
21.
Okay. Yeah. I guarantee it will increase though when we kind of realise that we don't have any to cut out. I just put them both.
Interesting. If I did have to cut out the ones that we all three of us have chosen, I'll maybe go with Bahrain, possibly. Even though it does create the best racing, though, so I'm not sure. But just because of, let's say, other factors, if you get me.
I think I might agree with you on that.
If I had to.
Yeah, I'd say so. But we do have, it is locked in, at least for the moment, and then we have a bunch of ones that two of us voted for. And starting at the start, Melbourne, Albert Park Circuit, Nigel didn't vote for that. Why didn't you vote for that?
Just because I think there's 21 other tracks in the world that are better.
Did you limit yourself to 21 votes?
No, but I've just decided that now, just to give a reason. No, I'm not. I'm not sure. I think it's kind of like Mexico City. I think the atmosphere is brilliant. It's probably the best place to start the Formula One season. But I think for me, there's better Australian tracks out there. And say if F1 does go to Phillip Island or in Dreamland, if it did go to Bathurst, obviously it would never happen. But Phillip Island, a new bend circuit in Melbourne. I can't remember.
That looks terrifying.
That's pretty crazy, and F1 could definitely go there. And I feel the fans would flock to wherever F1 goes to in Australia. So for me, I'd just choose
Australia is massive.
Circuit. Yeah, I'd just choose a different circuit in Australia rather than at Albert Park.
Our Australian expert correspondent, Freddie Coates there. Australia is massive.
Hot and massive.
We'll run through the list that two of us voted for. It was Melbourne, Imola, Estoril, Portimao, Monza, Baku, Hockenheim, Indianapolis, Mugello, Kyalami, Patero de la Funas. The last two are the Grade 2 circuits, but we put them in, or I put them in, and me and Freddie both voted for them.
Patero de la Funas.
Have either of you changed your mind on any of the ones that you voted for? Because we need to cut this down for about 12.
I have a half vote. At least 7. I have a half vote on Baku. So I'm a bit like, if you want to turn Baku into a 3, that's fine by me. Because I didn't vote for Baku in our original assessment, but I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it's all right.
I was surprised Baku didn't get 3, but I really like it. I think it is one of the best circuits on the calendar and one of the more different circuits on the calendar. Should we add that in then?
Add that in. Adam, you say that, but I bet after the 2016 race, the first race, there's no way you would have said that, which is,
with the new circuits that came.
Yeah, the new circuits that came last year, give it a chance, and it might turn out to be like a Baku.
Yeah, they might, but Baku's had what, 4 races now?
4 races and 1.5 good races.
I'd say more than that.
Oh, the F2 was all right.
I don't know. I think it's had 3 out of 4 have been good, watchable ones. So was 2016? No, it can't have been. Doesn't matter. Okay, but Baku.
It was the one. 2016 was the one Rosberg won from pole, but Perez came from like 8th to 3rd or something, which is kind of interesting at the time.
Had a bad weekend, didn't he?
Hamilton crashed in Q3 and then had technical issues, which he wasn't allowed to be told how to change, so sat in 5th for the whole race.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was just a complete farce. And they clashed with Le Mans, and no one watched it.
Oh yeah, that was the Le Mans last lap Toyota.
It was the Le Mans where the Toyota number 8 car or number 7, I can't remember which, broke down on the final lap of Le Mans after leading for 24 hours, and it was the saddest moment of everyone's lives.
Not mine though, because I didn't watch it. So the next one, I'm willing to concede Portimao because, well, I wasn't a fan of it. Then I think there's other battles.
You can see the potential.
To fight. I can see the potential. I think it could form a kind of Barcelona slot as the start of the European calendar as well. I can see some value in that, so I'm kind of willing to concede on that and throw that in.
Who didn't choose Monza?
You, I think.
Oh, it was me. Yes.
This is such a rehearsed podcast.
Yeah, I didn't choose Monza, and probably for the same reason as Melbourne, actually, just because I think there's better Italian tracks, and I only want.
I think we can have more than one in a country.
Yeah, I didn't think about
I tried to restrict myself though.
I didn't restrict myself to such jingoistic nature, to such a jingoistic nature by limiting it to countries. I thought, well, we can just have the steering Grand Prix or something like that, or not in, even though there's only one Austrian track picked, but we can just do European Grand Prix, or
I kind of thought the same really. That
just do a Rolex Grand Prix. They don't do one NASCAR race a year because it's in America.
No, they certainly do not.
I prefer Mugello.
Only one British F4 race. Mugello, I like Mugello as well. I think I took Mugello.
Yeah,
I do, but I think there are better ones out there. What's the argument for Mugello? What is drawing you to it?
Just a beast of a track. I think it's really different to the other circuits. It's a bit more old school, and I think what F1 needs with the current schedule is variety, and I think Mugello offers a different.
I think we've got that though. In terms of the ones we've already got, we've got challenging tracks in there already.
I guess there's more room for a challenging track than an easy track in my mind. And I think Mugello, like Nigel says, it's a complete worldie. It's an absolute beast. And watching them there in 2020 was for the whole weekend was really interesting. I think what was interesting was normally practice sessions are a bit tedious to watch and everything, but watching them at Mugello, I was really interested for some reason. I was absolutely not because it. I mean, there's the first half an hour, it's like it's a new track, wow. But then there's like the rest of it was just as they ramped up around that track, it felt just so exciting to watch cars there.
I mean,
go.
said, I am willing to concede Monza, to be honest, just because of the history and it's been on the calendar every single year bar one. I think 1980 it wasn't
1980.
on. Yeah, so but I do like Mugello.
See, I think for me, Monza, kind of when you're doing an F1 calendar, for me, there's 4 that kind of should be on there to make it an F1 calendar, and that's Monaco, Spa, Silverstone, and Monza. I think they're obviously with COVID, we couldn't have Monaco this year, but kind of generally for it to be an F1 calendar, those are kind of the cornerstones.
I agree with that.
That's a good point.
But staying in Italy, Imola. Would you both want Mugello and Imola in?
I'd rather have Mugello.
Nah,
I'd say you can only have one.
They only have one. Well, I mean, I'd say have neither, but I'd rather only have one than because I don't know. Just Imola, you're getting the same thing basically, to my mind.
And I liked it.
But there's 21 races, and you're taking 2.
Not in my dream.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, your dream is like 365 races, isn't there, Freddie?
Not quite. The
teams have
Christmas
got
and
to live as
Boxing
well.
Day.
The teams have got to live as well, crucially. But what about New Year's?
Who cares? What's New Year's?
It's the start of the next year. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Mugello in than.
Yeah, let's throw Mugello then. I think Mugello's got a really interesting.
Well, if you really dislike them, Adam, we don't have to put them in at all.
I mean,
this can be your foot down moment of the podcast.
Yeah,
you could overrule us.
You might choose a different track from one that we voted. Just one of us, maybe 2 of us will change our mind.
True, actually.
We can do it like they do on their X Factor thing, where they have chairs, and then you can take people off the chairs, and we can have 21. We don't need to end the podcast there. We can then go through more tracks and say, what do we want to take off for this track if someone puts forward a really good case?
Okay, well let's not add it in for now then, but let's keep it involved. Indianapolis, I really want that. I mean, having 2 American races is fine. It's a big country. And having it at that venue where, you've got a bit of banking and you've got a hopefully brilliant atmosphere if you have it in, September or so. It's a good track. It's a historic place to be racing. I think it would add what?
They've changed the layout though.
They have changed the layout. It's a bit of a crap new layout.
And even the old layout that they used to have, I didn't.
Well, I think if they mix the two, if they so the old layout would go full round the banking at the back, whereas which obviously was what, but it did it. So for 2000 to 2007, when they raced there in Formula One, they used a quarter of the banking basically in one of the corners and had a full banked Formula One corner, which was cool. Now the GP circuit of the Motor Speedway gets up onto the banking and then brakes and has a little chicane going out onto the straight. And if you've ever seen the IndyCar, it kind of works for the IndyCar, but that's because they do the Indy 500, so they don't need to worry about the banking.
That's what we need. We need an oval race. That's what F1
I think that would be insane if we did an oval race.
Variety. Oval.
I mean, it's not F1's thing, which would probably mean that they'd get a lot of critics. It really depends which oval they did it on. Whether they
that
did
really
it on
small one in America.
Yeah, that's
like
what I was
half
thinking.
mile.
The absolute tiny one where you can't do it with the dirty air and that kind of thing. Qualifying would be mad. But I kind of think with the GP Motor Speedway, if you mixed the two, kind of like the historic one that they had there 10, 15 years ago with the one they've got now, like the first sector of what they've got now with the final sector of what they've got then, would be excellent. In my opinion.
We can put that in. We
Cool.
can have that. All of the infrastructure is still there.
Now.
They've not like bulldozed over the banking, and meaning that you can't drive over it now.
And we no longer have Michelin as a tyre supplier.
Yes, exactly.
Whoa. No, Freddie's not going to get sponsored by Michelin when he's older.
It's all right.
Really
Hankook
like
are coming into Formula E, so I just got to align myself with them because they're great tyres.
You need to learn the slogan, really. I don't know.
Hankook.
I really like it in, but Nigel, you are still
Ready, steady, Hankook.
Not convinced over it.
Again, there's better tracks in America, I think. I think Road America, which I put further down, that's a track.
Oh, well, we can. Yeah, well, we could see.
It's all right. Yeah, Road America's all right.
All right, one of the best tracks in the world, top 10.
The other surprising one I thought was Hockenheim, because that's one that I don't know, would I put it in my top 10 tracks? I think it would be up there, to be honest. I don't know. I think it was Nigel who voted for it. But it's good. It has good racing. It's got a good atmosphere in the stadium, but it's got... Why?
Nürburgring's better.
Yeah, but we've got Nürburgring already.
Yeah, so...
That's his point.
I'd rather go to the Nordschleife.
No.
Not
going to the Nordschleife.
That'd be deadly.
I mean...
Yes, and it would ruin the Nordschleife for everyone who uses it as a toll road to get to work.
I don't know. I just wouldn't put Hockenheim in.
Why?
I don't think it's...
What's the atmosphere? What's the... Not atmosphere, argument against it?
So I think the argument against Hockenheim, to take a devil's advocate kind of position, because I did vote for it, is that the racing is always all right. They had a great race there in 2019 because it tipped it down with rain and it was chaotic. But you've got to take that as like not the norm. And when it's been a dry race there, it's always been, meh, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's about it really with Hockenheim. The only really great race I can remember there in the dry was when Jenson Button came from something like the back of the grid to third or second or something in the BAR days. And that was just because JB was on a flyer and an absolute worldie of a drive. And you can get a few good switchbacky moves, but it's never anything amazing at Hockenheim. But it's another one that has potential to be great and normally doesn't live up to it. And that's why I went for it, because I think it's got potential to be really good. And it's got the history, obviously. It's Hockenheim Ring. It's been a racetrack for so long in the years of the world and everything. And yeah, it's had some okay races there. But the reason everyone's now clamming for Hockenheim on like the Twitter sphere is because there was a wet race there, not because there was a Hockenheim race there.
Yeah, I mean, when F1 used to alternate between Nürburgring and Hockenheim,
Dreamboat
every year, back about 10 years ago now, 12 years ago, I always preferred Nürburgring. And like Freddie said, I think the only reason people enjoy Hockenheim more now is because of the wet race in 2019 and the rain falling in 2018, which allowed Hamilton to claim that amazing win when Vettel crashed. But before that, there's no race that stands out. There's a lot more Nürburgring moments to me that stand out in the history of F1. So
shall we have
put it in?
Shall we have a ultimatum? Should we either contract the Nürburgring and Hockenheim for biannual
we can alternate
deals?
In years.
Exactly. Or do we have a European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring like you did from like 1995 to 2008 or whatever?
I'd go for that option. Personally.
Have them both?
Yeah, that'd be my dream scenario.
I think pencil them in as both now, and then if need be, this is one we can dock out as a biannual contract in Dream World.
Okay, that sounds a good idea.
If you're listening or watching this podcast, and if you disagree, please let us know on Twitter by spamming us.
Yeah, spam Nigel because you want to support his opinion. So spam him and tell him, Nigel, I want to support you. I want to support you, Nigel. I'm on your side every day.
Every day. Estoril, I didn't vote for it, but both of you, well, I'm assuming so because it's got 2 votes and I didn't vote for it.
Oh,
so do either of you want to make the case for that?
I spent ages looking up videos of Estoril, looking up track maps and everything to decide whether I would vote for it. And I thought I decided I wouldn't. But okay, let's go for it. So
Well, that's maybe an indication that it might not make it on then.
Estoril, I think it's good. It's got the Portimao kind of side to it of like it's a better Barcelona. Esteril's also got that. They've fiddled around with Turn 1 since F1 was last there in a way that they did with the Hungaroring and around the late 90s, early 2000s to make it better as an overtaking spot, which is good for racing. The back sector is really quite fun with like, it does what we want Catalonia to do with more sweepy corners and stuff like that. But it's just, I don't know. I think I just did a Nigel and decided that I prefer Portugal with the Algarve circuit and Portimao rather than Estoril. I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 with Estoril. I can take it or leave it, but like I would happily have it, and if it was there, I'd say brilliant. But
yeah, I'm 50-50 now as well. And plus, since we got Portimao in anyway,
yeah, I don't think we need 2 Barcelona clones.
Sorry, Estoril.
Strike Estoril from the calendar.
Yeah, Estoril is not in. I think Melbourne. I like. It's a good place to start the year.
Right.
It's a good F1 country. It's had some good races, and it's just a nice place to start.
Yeah, fair enough. Only if they don't start somewhere else in Australia, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, the reason Melbourne's great to start is because it's in Melbourne, and because it's like a month after, traditionally a month after the Australian Open and that kind of thing. And world's eyes are on Melbourne for the sporting month of the year for whatever they have there, and it's quite a fun time for Melbourne, really. And if you're there, the city is absolutely off its hinges with excitement.
You've been, haven't you, Freddie?
Yeah, I went to the Australian Grand Prix in 2019.
Had some fancy
the
pants,
last one.
Pass.
Last one.
Sorry?
Had some fancy pants, McLaren pass thing.
No, I didn't. That was a different one.
Okay.
Well, that's a different Grand Prix I went to.
Yeah.
That was the Hungarian Grand Prix 2018.
That was at the other 100th Grand Prix I went
experience. Yes.
Well, the one we got a special enclosure for free because we were like one of the random people who booked at a certain time. He's like, you got a special enclosure at, alongside where George Russell was on the grid. I can't remember. But yeah, and George Russell sat right there for his first F1 race. It was quite fun.
The other 2 that we've not mentioned that 2 of us voted for are Kyalami and Potero de las Furnas.
Potero de las Furnas!
I think the main reason I put Kyalami there was because I think to be a world championship, F1 should have a race in Africa. It should have a race on every continent apart from Antarctica. And Kyalami's the best South African circuit. I think it's a good circuit in its own right as well. It's got F1 history. But I think to be a world championship, you should be going everywhere in the world, and that includes going to Africa.
I disagree.
What have you got against Antarctica, mate?
The fact that it's got no permanent human population is one. The fact that it has no roads is another. Just to start with.
I disagree with that because then F1 would be the only motorsport world championship, and that's not fair on other series.
Well, they should have races in Africa too, then.
And Antarctica.
Does Formula E have a
race in Antarctica?
Race.
Is the Marrakesh E-Prix? Yeah. Yeah. That's quite good. There's a half permanent facility there.
Marrakesh is good. What?
Yeah, I quite like it.
No.
Oh.
Anyway,
Dream Formula E calendar is going to be an interesting podcast next week.
Hope Joe's around.
It's a half permanent facility. I don't know what else is there. I know they had Formula One races in like the 50s in Morocco, but
yeah, I wasn't suggesting it as a track. I was just saying there are other series that race in Africa.
Yes.
Such as Formula E.
Yes. Is that all you wanted from me?
Well, because Nigel was saying then F1's the only world championship or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I just think we should. And, the reach of F1, that's a massive, massive people that
it's
F1
a decent track, to be honest.
Going anywhere near. And yes, it is as well a decent track.
That's what undulating. I waited for it.
Yeah.
I don't really care that it was in South Africa. To be honest, if it's in South Africa, that normally turns people off it because South Africa is such a rocky country as is.
Table Mountain.
Yeah, it's made of rocks. And it's such a rocky country politically, and it's quite unstable a lot of the time. That you kind of think that's right in F1's remit, frankly, of a place to go. But yeah, it's kind of a place that it's fine to go there to pull in a bit of crowd. And I think there's a big motorsport culture in South Africa that are dying for Formula One to go there. And I don't think it's a missed opportunity yet. I think if they went there and left, then it would be a travesty, but they haven't opened up the market so much. So I think it's a good place to open up a market. It's better than Saudi Arabia for that.
That's a good point about the market, actually. I think it could just inspire a few people, a few young kids in Africa and stuff to take up motorsport and things like that. So I think that is a good point for this. So yeah, you can put that in if you want.
I think Lewis said something about that. He said that F1 should be racing in Africa for that reason. I think it was a while back. It might have been around when we did our first podcast, actually.
Do you want Kyalami as like a season finale or something like that?
Over Brazil.
I was thinking season finale leg could be Bahrain, Kyalami, Brazil.
I think it'd be quite a cool place to have like that kind of thing. They've had season finales there in the past with history in terms of like the 80s. I think Prost lost a world championship there by half a point, or not half a point, by more than that. I think it was 82. He didn't win with Renault, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's got history, like Adam said. You can always look back to the 1993 Senna Schumacher Prost fight you had there, and that still is talked about. I remember going to a bar in a hotel, in an airport in like, I don't know, Tenerife or something, and watching the 1993 Kyalami Grand Prix because they just had it on the TV there. I was like, wow, these guys know what they're doing.
This is just Freddie's travels. He's like, oh yes, and then I went to space for a month and I missed the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix. Oh no, but anyway.
Hey, Freddie gets around a lot, doesn't he?
Fernando Alonso's last win, the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix.
Well, you didn't know because you're in space or whatever, or I don't know, scuba diving.
I had a great time in zero gravity.
Yeah, I thought, and Nürburgring Bahrain, Kyalami. But I think Interlagos has to, for me, it's the kind of definitive season finale, and it's also a great track and guaranteed, as much as a track can guarantee to have a decent race to finish the season. I think Interlagos does that.
Now, what about Potero de la Funes?
Most beautiful circuit in the world. It's got a lake in the middle of it.
It's sexy.
I don't think the viewers will know what it is.
It's amazing.
Well,
it's a track in Argentina.
Nigel.
Yeah. It's a track in Argentina, and I am now just Googling it to find out where it is. But yeah, it's
Argentina.
It's amazing. It's like a cross between Albert Park, Baku, and Mugello, and it's got a massive lake, and it looks so cool. And I watched an onboard lap there on a Assetto Corsa in an F1 car, and it's got some bits that would be just like really like immensely fast parts of the track, and it's got some other bits that if you were racing there then would be like you'd have to either commit for a move or you'd be like fed out a bit, and other bits where you could just side by side through it. And it just seemed like a track that I really want to see an F1 race happen at. That
was the same reason I put it. It's got a brilliant kind of hairpin or sector that's like winding up here. I think it's a right turn. It's like up a hill. It's quite steep uphill. It's right turn, then left, and then a hairpin. And it looks so good. And as Freddie said, I just really want F1 to be there. It's, to me, the most beautiful track in the
what
world.
Do people want from racetracks? Undulation. And what has this got? Undulation and a lake.
Yes. Name a bad circuit with a lake in the middle of it. You can't. Exactly.
Let me think.
Exactly.
I'll come back to you after the podcast for that one.
Is there a lake at Alton Park? Actually, no, Alton Park's banger.
Good audio content coming back to the podcast.
He's like a steward.
The thing is, I'm looking at it now.
The stewards will decide after the race. After the
Isn't it
podcast.
just a shorter version of the Nordschleife?
No,
That's what's wrong with the Nordschleife. Is it so long?
it's wider.
I'm
B,
gonna
you
die
can
on this
actually
hill.
It doesn't look wider.
Right. It's
It is.
wide enough. It's like an actual length that you can have an F1 race at without
Yeah.
having a million marshals or fatalities every time we go there. And it's a lot prettier than the Nordschleife. It's got a lake in the middle. Does the Nordschleife? No, probably not. I don't know enough
It
about
might
the
do.
Nordschleife.
It's
but I'm gonna
massive.
say it might have a
There's a
pond.
lake on that A517 between Sheffield and Manchester. Doesn't mean they should have a
Yeah, but there's
racetrack there.
not a racetrack
That's
there,
not
is
what we're
there?
saying.
Yeah. So name a bad circuit that already exists. You can't just go around and be like, oh, there's a reservoir outside Bury and they don't race there. Yeah, I don't know.
That was
a
a great track,
really
actually.
like
That one around that reservoir in Bury.
it. I really like it. Freddie really likes it.
The circuit has received very high praise from the drivers for its substantial undulations and numerous high-speed corners and bends, which provide a great driving challenge. Not my
When we get
words, the words of Wikipedia.
Exactly. And we
5
get another
star.
race in Argentina, and Argentine fans are crazy in every sport that they go and watch, even like cricket or whatever. And so you'd have that element. It'd just be brilliant. It'd be one of the best. It'd be one of the favourite races on the calendar.
Right then, yeah. Right. Well, let's have it. Let's have it.
Okay, this is good.
Yes, Abby.
Well, we're now up to 21.
Okay,
For
now we're
now.
going to start
We'll
removing
just sum
tracks
up
and we
what
add
races
tracks.
we've got, Adam, just in case anyone.
So the races we've got in no particular order are Interlagos, Bahrain, Monaco, Spa, Montreal, Kota, Hungaroring, Istanbul, Singapore, Nürburgring, Red Bull Ring, Sepang, Silverstone, Suzuka, Baku, Portimao, Monza, Melbourne, Portello de las Furnas, Kyalami, and Hockenheim in italics.
So Hockenheim's next year.
Yeah, I think it might be getting to that stage because we do have circuits that some of us voted for, but not all of us, or one of us voted for, but not the other two. So, does anyone want to pick up those and make the case for those?
Well, I think we're on to the Nigel leg of the Google Doc.
Yeah, Nigel voted for loads. I think I looked and I voted for like 15 or 17 or something, and Nigel voted for tons.
I mean, I voted for about 30, but
Why neither of you put Shanghai on there?
I'm not a
Like,
fan of
what's it
Shanghai
add?
so much.
What's
Yeah,
it
it
add
adds-
to the
China's a
calendar?
massive
Haze.
market for the car industry. I think the track
And go to
itself,
Zhuhai. That's an all right track.
the Shanghai track is brilliant. I think it's really
Yeah.
different. It's really high on tyre wear. We get great races there. You know, for
Yeah,
over the
we
last
do get
10
good
years,
races there.
we've had good races there. There's always some intrigue and interest. The only bad one was the latest one, the 1000th anniversary Grand Prix in 2019.
That's
But
true.
I think as a racetrack, it creates great racing with the long back straight. And as I said, the tyre wear throws up a 2 or 3 stop race, which is different to the normal 1 stop races that we normally get in F1. So that's my case for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think it's if we're batting the market thing again, yes, China's China. If you look at, they speak about it every year when they go to Shanghai, the racetrack. You look at old races there from around the noughties, and there's nothing in the distance. You go there now, and it's a megapolis and everything all around the whole place. It's responsible for a boom in China, in that particular area of swampland or whatever it is, and it is all right as a track. It's clearly designed for a modern Formula One car to thrive there. It's not like where you get a racetrack that's designed for cars that like GT3 cars that go at half the speed, and then they can flow so nicely, and a Formula One car just tilt the steering wheel and you're around it. It's clearly designed to be a challenge for a Formula One car at its peak, which is now.
Out of all the Tilke built tracks, Shanghai is probably one of the best for me.
So that's the thing. Shanghai has a lot of
Istanbul
lovers and
and
a lot of
Sepang.
haters.
Their own kind of tier, and then maybe Shanghai's. Okay, I think you might have convinced me that we can have
Convinced me.
that in.
Ooh.
Okay. should we take
10 more to
Imola?
go.
Should we take Imola and Indianapolis out the running? Because
Yes, I think those are the two we kind of have to take out, don't we? Because those have got the caveats of we all slightly prefer Mugello, and Indianapolis, you'd have to make major revisions to the track.
Okay.
We could just make a racetrack.
I don't know. I think you can make a racetrack, but you can't make a venue that's as historic as Indianapolis without 100 years. But
that's why the next track is the Isle of Man TT.
It's not a venue, that's an island.
Exactly. It'd be crazy.
It's a landmass. Okay, I think the only ones I put down as Bud, which I like, I think it was a good Tilke track. I think it's better than Shanghai, and I'd say it's on a par with Korea, but Korea was just a massive flop, and they only got it finished like the day before F1 went there. I don't know. I think, and if we're talking about markets going to India, its second biggest population, it's got real F1 passion, I believe, and yeah, I'd like to put that case forward.
The Bud International Circuit.
Yeah.
It was a good track.
Indian circuit for those who don't know.
Yes, sorry.
It was a pretty tasty racetrack, I'd say. I think all that really stands in the way of the Indian Grand Prix was everything that came alongside it, which was that I don't know, all the staff had to stay in hotels where they would basically be at extreme risk of getting malaria from mosquito infestations, and whenever they go into go from like a 5-star hotel into the track, they'd drive past the extreme poverty, and then all the money was just put into this massive racetrack facility that wasn't even finished when they were there. And I kind of think there were so many little caveats with the Indian Grand Prix that it was a good race to drive on. I mean, the races weren't very memorable. The only bit that I really remember is Hamilton crashing into Massa, which seems to be all of 2011, and Sebastian Vettel winning his 4th title, which is quite an iconic shot when he like gets out and bows to his car. And he won all the races there. The Vettel, all 3 races they had then. Kind of like, but the overarching memory for me of India is everything that came alongside it being a bit uncomfortable, frankly.
We can have the race, and then we can put the money into helping the poverty. Because it's
Dreamland is becoming
it's worse if you build a massive racetrack when you should be spending it on other stuff, and then no one goes there.
Like
but they're not able to go there.
No, the Olympics are called London 2012.
Yeah, apart from London,
best experiences ever in history. But yeah, outside of that, Athens is dead now. I don't know about Shanghai.
Athens
Beijing
destroyed themselves with their economy.
Beijing, I think they only used the velodrome in the athletics track.
It's cool though, the athletics stadium. We're getting a bit off topic.
The bird's nest.
I'd rather have Korea than the Bud circuit. Personally. I think I'm the one who chose Korea.
Yeah, I saw that. Would you not?
Would I choose Qatar?
If I had to really choose, I would have. I do like Korea because of the track, and I think it's a bit different with the insanely long straight for by end of a really long straight. I think it had some good racing as well. It would be good for modern F1 cars, I think, but I'm kind of going against it now. And the Indian circuit doesn't really appeal to me.
Okay.
With this kind of like our individual ones, I'm going to throw in that I did the Lusail International Circuit, which is the season opener for MotoGP in Qatar.
I've not even heard of that. I don't know what it is at all. So you're going to need to do some explaining.
That track is horrible. It's worse than Paul Ricard.
It's got the Bahrain vibe to it, which is basically what it's like. But it's kind of like,
Right.
I think it as it goes, it's obviously got the night race in a country that's uncomfortable. Okay. Hear me out. I'm not supporting myself here that well. But anyway, it just flows really nicely. and it's got little bits around the track that offer a little bit of a technical challenge, little bits that offer a bit of a high-speed thrill, and then still comes round and has a decent lap. There's not really any corner. There's a couple of corners that are a bit boring, but a couple of them that feed in nicely to the next, and it flows. I think it flows nicer for me than Korea does. To me, Korea always felt a bit stop-starty, and then you got to a weird bit at the end, which is like, oh, was it a street track?
It was meant to be. They meant to build a city around it, and then they just didn't.
Yeah.
If we're going to have another Asian track, other than Shanghai, which we've now chosen, it has to be Fuji in Japan and alternate it with Suzuka. Fuji is a brilliant Grade 1 track, I think.
Fuji is good.
Is it? I don't really. I know F1 raced there, but I don't really remember. Did Hamilton? Or was that
Hamilton
won?
did it in
Hamilton
the wet.
won.
Yeah,
And then
in the
Alonso
wet,
crashed.
Had that
and Alonso
mad
won in
battle.
2008 in the Renault.
Yeah, a proper victory that year.
It was actually a really good drive.
Yeah,
Really,
Was
really
that
cut big.
Fuji
Fuji
as well.
Speedway. Yeah, that was Fuji. Alonso's win there was a prop, and both wins there have been immense drives by Hamilton and Alonso. And I don't really know. I think it's obviously the Hunt Lauda showdown track where Lauda pulled out of the race. It's Fuji, so there's the history element there. Actually, to be fair, I think Nigel, you've thrown that into the bag.
Out
Do you
of
want to
those
alternate
four
it?
we just mentioned,
Do you want to
I would
alternate it with Suzuka?
Yeah, just like they used to about 15
let's
years
do that.
ago.
I think
I'd be happy to do that.
I think a lot of people are diehard about Suzuka, but I think
I'm not the biggest fan of it.
you can be diehard about both of them because it's Japan that people are diehard about. Suzuka is fantastic in terms of the S's and the Degners and the hairpin and then spoon and then 130 yard. Look, that's the whole track. But it's just like it's such a intense track is Suzuka, and I think that is great. Yeah, and Fuji has got such a different challenge, but it's in the same country. It's one of the longest straights that Formula One's ever been to, and then around the back you've got high speed corners, and you've got some really some corners that will pull lateral G. They'll pull necks off people in Fuji, and at Fuji they do circuit safari. And if you don't know what circuit safari is, you've got to go and look it up because it's one of the coolest things that WEC have ever done. It's also insane. But anyway,
you can take different racing lines as well.
Is it just like LMP1 cars driving around a line enclosure?
The LMP1 car in first place. No, it's they have a bus, a coach driving around the practice session with fans in it looking out while cars drive around. So there's just a bus on track.
Brilliant, but also
absolutely mad and crazy. Only in Japan. It's fantastic.
I did F1 in schools, which was a initiative where you had to make a car and make a kind of team budget thing. And set up, I guess, an imitation F1 team. And we didn't win, but another team from our school did, and they went the regional, and they went to the national final in Silverstone, and they got to drive around the track on the school minibus, and I was very jealous. And the DT teacher who ran it got to drive a minibus around Silverstone.
The roles would be unreal.
It'd be brilliant. It'd be like in Top Gear where they do the vans and Hammond's got the really kind of boxy one and he kind of tries to flick it into Chicago or something and falls over on its side. Okay, so
we're agreed. We're going to Fuji.
Yeah, once every 2 years.
And that for me, that's in place of Qatar, Korea and India.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that. I still like an Indian race, but it's, it's just one of those.
I think if they could do a street track in India, that would be one of the best places to do it. But we've just seen the failures in Hanoi, so we might in Vietnam, which isn't going to happen now, basically. So I kind of think maybe don't go fishing for street tracks in random places.
I think I was tempted to put it on just out of sympathy to have a race there, but
would we have selected it though?
Well, I don't know.
I wouldn't have done.
Well, that's fine.
Nigel, would you have selected the Hanoi International Circuit from Vietnam?
I've got nothing to base it on, to be honest. No.
Yeah, I don't know. We discussed this before, so we don't need to go into it. I just think it's sad that they will never get a chance to see it. But
That's true. That's
I think Zandvoort was the only other one I put down because it's a good track. It's a challenge, but not in the sense of Mugello. It's a different kind of tight. It's around the dunes on the coast. It's quite a good away race to go to, especially on a budget from Britain. You'll have incredible atmosphere from the fans because we see the Dutch fans at Spa and Austria, and it'll just be that ramped up to 11. It's got
the Imola
elevation
argument to me. It's the same as like Imola.
Well, it's different, but it's a different type.
Country, that's it.
It's a different type of track though as well. It's more tighter and banking gear.
I'm willing to give Zandvoort.
Wow.
I'm willing to give Zandvoort a chance. I think the reason I didn't pick it was because I'm slightly worried that the Dutch fans won't go to Belgium, Germany, and Austria if we have.
Oh, so you've got a grudge.
Dutch Grand Prix. Hey?
You've got a grudge against Zandvoort because it's got fans.
No, because I'm worried that those other circuits won't get as many fans and stuff. Because I think Max Verstappen, in a way, has saved some races with the amount of fans that go there. I'm just worried Zandvoort will almost take away from that. It's kind of like the argument with I forgot what tracks it was. I think Mexico and USA, they sometimes argue about saying, if we have the Mexican Grand Prix before it, less people will go to the circuit of the Americas. And
no, they're never empty though.
Because it's really easy to get across from Mexico to Texas.
I can't remember what it might
Not with a wall.
Or somewhere else. I can't remember.
It was sarcasm. Yeah.
I'm willing to give Zandvoort a chance because it is very different to what we usually get.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do it. Who are we taking out? We've taken out IMS, haven't we? So let's put it in for that one.
Yes. We now have 22 races.
That's cool. We're allowed 23 if we're going to be Liberty sponsored.
Well, Mugello was the other one that I think we should put in because we hadn't already, but we'd said.
Oh, I thought it was there. Okay, put Mugello in.
It will be there now. So we now have 23.
Another one that I only put was Road America, which I think is the best track in the United States.
Go on, make the Road America case.
It's just the best track in the USA. It's got everything. Long straights, great racing. It's dangerous, old school grass and gravel on the exits, which will punish you. I think it's got everything.
Do we need
undulation?
Do we need more old school? Because we've already got Spa, Hungaroring, Nürburgring, Silverstone, Suzuka, Fuji, Portimao, Mugello.
What I mean by old school is
Portimao's
the
not
way
old
the
school.
track is, because I don't think Silverstone, Hungaroring, tracks like that, they've been modernised, and same with Spa. They're not really old school anymore, whereas Road America has still got that. But then again, if F1 did go there,
if F1 went there, they would F1 would ruin Road America. I agree. Road America is a fantastic racetrack. You've got so much going on at Road America, and when any car, GT car, Indy car that's going around there, it's on a limit at every corner, and it's there's so many opportunities to have intense racing there around that track. But I kind of think, like you say, Nigel, if you take the kind of sort of back straight that's kind of flat out into the back straight of Road America, I can't remember any names of anything out there or turn numbers, but if anyone knows what I'm talking about, that would just have to be, they'd have to cut out the forest over there and move the wall back so far to make it FIA standard. It's fine in American safety standards with IndyCar and IMSA, but F1 would not stand for that at all. For basically, for the majority of it, it seems like you're driving flat out at a wall, and you would be at that point of the track in
where is it?
6th or 7th gear. Yeah, Nigel, where is it?
Don't say America.
Elkhart Lake, which is in Wisconsin. I just remembered Wisconsin.
Would you be interested in doing a share between COTA and that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think it's better.
Let's do that.
That could work. Yeah. Okay, that's quite an interesting little mix-up.
So are we suggesting Road America, we will give it a chance despite the FIA revisions?
I mean, we've got this Futuro de las Futures.
Yeah, but that's brilliant.
Thing.
It's absolutely brilliant in every way. But de las Funes would be the best race in F1 on the
I
calendar.
really
We'll
don't-
just
And
go
it's got a
straight
lake.
in there. It's got a lake. It's got a
It's
lake.
got-
It's
it's
got
got-
hills.
It's got a
It's
better
got
lake than the one they've got
undulation.
in Montreal. Better
Or
lake than the
Albert
one they've
Park.
got at Singapore because that's the sea.
Or Bahrain. They've got a little oasis in the middle, but it's better than that.
That's quite pretty as well, the little oasis.
Paterno de las Funes is better.
Hotel de las Funes!
Okay, we've got that in. We've got Zandvoort in. We've got Budenkarit out. Lusail, we've been
got
that.
out.
Jerez, I didn't put it down, so that
Jerez.
means someone else must have, which means someone else
Not
must
me.
have wanted it in.
I like Jerez. In my classic, I'm Freddie and I like old school tracks way. I think I just enjoy Jerez as a track. I mean, it's one of those ones I'd be willing to give a chance and knock off if it's not so good with modern F1. But I think I just always have kind of thought, I mean, they did a few little finicky bits with the track in the late 90s that they've reversed now and don't do anymore. So it wouldn't be the layout that had the famous Schumacher Villeneuve showdown. It would be because at the back of that they've got a crappy little chicane for some reason in that race. But it would be the layout they use for MotoGP now, which is I think it's a really good intense layout of a track. It's and it's in a really cool part of the world. You can go there and get some sherry and everything. That's about it. But I think it's just one of those tracks that I've always like literally always wanted F1 to go to. And for me, if it's a Dreamland calendar, I want to give Jerez a go.
I don't think it would work for modern F1 though. I really don't. I think the medium and high speed corners, the racing would be pretty awful, really.
That's what we said when we went to Mugello, and then Mugello.
Yeah, but
Magellan's got a very, very long
It wasn't
straight.
just
Jerez
crashes though.
doesn't.
That's the thing. People think Mugello was just crashes. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Jerez
like
doesn't have
the
the
just
long
crashes,
straight.
but largely the interest came from that, I thought. I don't feel like I particularly have a urgent need to see it in. If we put it in and, Portimao isn't good or Mugello, we have a load of boring races at Mugello, then, I'd be willing to give it a try or something like that. Or Zandvoort,
Right, it'll be there on the 2024 Dream calendar. Fine.
Yeah.
I'm willing to sit back because I know I'm going to be voted out on this one. It's not the hill I'm going to die on this one.
Okay. Bahrain Outer, I voted for it and then unvoted for it. And I think
I
Freddie voted for it. I'm kind of torn on it because I did really like it, but I don't know whether I really liked it because it was so different. And if it's every year, it'll stop being different. And I don't know whether we want to go back to the same track. But I thought of two ideas. One is do it like they did in Monza in, I'm going to forget the year now. Was it 61? Where they did the track and then they went onto the banking and did that. That's the first idea, that they go to Bahrain, but they do one lap. Well, yeah, you have lanes painted on the track. So if you're going on the
next
outer
exit,
layout,
take the outer layout.
you go on the left hand side, and there's a line that you have to switch by, unless you're side by side with the car and there's no other car in sight. So the first idea is that I think that'd be quite fun if very random. Just zooming around I think it'd be good.
Before George Russell had his problem, before the safety car, was the actual racing there good?
Yeah, there's a good battle between Albon and those Perez coming back through the field. Was it that race?
Because Perez had to come through.
Yeah, it was a DRS train, wasn't it? From Sainz down to Ocon in a 3rd to 11th. It was a DRS train.
Had it not been Russell at Mercedes and if it was just Hamilton there normal weekend, I think.
If we didn't have all the Russell stuff, we didn't have the Perez win, it would have been declared a damp squib.
I don't think it would. I think it was still a good race.
It's only one race, and me, I don't like to judge things on just one thing.
Yeah.
So
you want to put
I'm not sure.
the other option, if we're not going to go for the
I've got an idea.
Monza oval track, Freddie.
Why don't we do a 2-race weekend at Bahrain?
Yeah.
Qualifying race on the Bahrain Outer and the main race.
Something like that. Why not?
Yeah.
All
Okay,
the way
that's
around.
a good idea.
Yes,
I
I got a good
invented
idea.
Form 1 here.
My first good idea on the podcast.
Well,
Episode 51.
That's harsh.
my thing was just going to be another to go there and do one track one year, one track the other year. But I think that's a much better idea.
Yeah, let's just have. I mean,
it's
You do the same with
one
every
Grand
circuit
Prix.
that's got more than one way out now.
We can do that at other tracks as well.
I don't feel the need to see a race on Austria the South, or whatever. I feel like
it's over.
Yeah,
that would be it. Suzuka's short.
Yeah.
That's really that's just really crazy. It's like, oh yeah, it's just S's. You don't slow down. You only slow down when there's a little escape road that's really annoying.
I was talking to Adam about this a couple of months ago. They did a NASCAR race on Suzuka Short in the late 90s called the Thunder the Thunder 500 or something like that. And it was bonkers. It was absolutely random to see NASCAR, proper NASCAR stock cars from whatever it is. It would be the Xfinity Truck Series equivalent, that kind of thing. From the top class with people like Dale Earnhardt and stuff going around Suzuka Short Circuit with some Japanese touring car drivers in as special guests doing really well.
Wow. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, the Suzuka East Circuit is literally 30 seconds long, if that.
Me and Freddie did an online F1 race at Suzuka Short, I think in F2 cars. And
it was 8 laps long.
Yeah, which probably should have been 16, but it was just crazy because it's so short that basically if you pit, you get lapped.
Yeah.
So it was just everyone everywhere. Obviously, because it was online, then everyone had crashes. So everyone needed to pit. Freddie crashed on the first lap and then ended up third because everyone else just crashed later on. I was second or third and then got taken out by a lapped car near the end, which was really annoying.
I got a podium because of it.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
There's about 18 cars there. It's one of those. It was what I first thought of when we mentioned Suzuka Short just then. Which says a lot, really. I think Suzuka Short would be fun if they were all in smart cars, and you did something like that. We just had tons of F1 drivers in little pocket. What are they called? They're called K cars in Japan, where it's really small, little a Suzuki Swift vibe kind of car. And every F1 driver is in one of them.
Then?
Yeah, we can just do some random races at this kind of thing. I did an article the other day about who would make the best F1 getaway driver, and Tom Aaron, who works for MSV, he said it would be good if they did all the drivers in Ford Mustangs with cardboard boxes littered around a circuit to see who'd be the best comedy getaway driver. And if we do stuff like that dotted around the Dreamland calendar, then I think this is going to be a season to behold, because publicity stunt wise, everyone's going to be off their rocker.
I've not thought about that, actually. Is there any other... Actually, we'll go through the other circuits that people put down first. Nordschleife, no. Me and Freddie not having that. Bathurst. Me and Freddie have been doing a bit of that on project cars.
Best track in the world.
Literally impossible.
It would be impossible. It would be... No. I think... I don't know if the note's still there. I put a note on there saying it'd be great for a demo run. Oh, no, I took it off for some reason.
I think that would be good.
If you did a demo run there, if you did some people went there, 2 drivers went to Bathurst just to be hey, we're at Bathurst. Wow, look at us. Me and you, Bathurst. Wow. And that kind of thing. You did a driver swap with Scott McLaughlin or something, even though he's not a supercars driver anymore. Shane Van Gisbergen, something like that. And you did a...
Didn't he play for Wasps? Oh no, that's a different
yeah, he did, but he became an Australian V8 supercars driver afterwards.
South African fullback won the European Cup. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
So if you did something like that, you had a driver swap. You had a supercars driver in an F1 car, and then a F1 driver in a supercar, and then you'd had a few hot laps around that. That would be quite fun, and it would be good to sell. I don't know, shed oil. But it wouldn't be good for a race.
Yeah,
You
I
know
agree.
that in your heart of hearts, Nigel.
No,
I think it'd be good.
no,
It's one of
it
those.
is
It'd
so
be good to see an F1 car on, and that's why what Freddie said would be a great idea. But we don't need to put it on the calendar, have a race there just to see an F1 car.
Because when a car
there.
rolls, it will roll off a mountain.
How's it
Yes.
going to roll?
I don't know. They do
Like
it sometimes.
Barriers.
Hulkenberg, I'm hanging here like a cow.
There's
Hanging
only
it
been
like a
Marcus
cow.
Ericsson.
there's only been one significant roll at Bathurst.
So there's room for more.
That's
They're
one
due
too
another
many.
roll.
Yeah.
Every
yes.
track's going to have had a roll.
Yeah,
Silverstone's had loads.
but not off the side of a mountain, as Freddie said.
Yeah.
But no
Silverstone's
one's
just on a
rolled
hill.
off the side
Let's
of the
race on
mountain.
Alpe d'Huez and have
No
us
one's ever
going up
rolled
the
off the
21
side of the
hairpins
mountain.
there.
The Alpe
And when
d'Huez
they-
has a chairlift called the scare chair because it's terrifying.
Well, it looks
Anyway,
like
back to the
Bathurst
point.
isn't going in, but it is my favourite track in the world. I think it always will be. It is.
Oh, we don't doubt there's an absolutely fantastic racetrack, and it'd be amazing if it wasn't a grade 3 circuit.
I'm not sure what grade it is. But...
I think it's grade 3.
I just think it'd be great to see, but I just think it'd be terrifying and simultaneously awful. It's really narrow as well. Like, it's so narrow.
Not all
Narrow
of
is
it.
fine. You can cope with narrow.
Monaco's narrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
you can get two cars side by side on that.
You
Anyway,
can get two cars side by side at Bathurst at parts of it. To be fair, there's the
Well,
whole
convincing
massive
Freddie.
No, you're not. There's
there's
a
not.
massive
On the back straight, you've got wheels on.
straight.
You'd have a wheel on the grass, unless
it'd be
the car
hard.
is like, yeah. Well,
It'd be
anyway,
hard to do, but you have that in the Hungaroring.
not to the same extent. Anyway, it's not going on. It's
Okay,
the long
alright.
and the short of it.
Yeah, it's I agree. It's fun. It's unfeasible though. This is a proper calendar.
Yes, with
Clearly.
racing K cars on Suzuka Short. Anyway,
Yes.
Le Mans. Nigel, you put that on.
Yes.
Well,
if we're going to have
why?
a French race, which I think F1 should have because of the FIA and they're French. I think
you can't have
Le Mans
F1
would be
cars at Le
brilliant.
Mans
Why not?
Are you
because
on
you have
about
Le Mans
the,
at Le Mans.
Are you on
The
about
Circuit
the
de la
Le
Sarre.
Mans
Yes, the Circuit de la
track
Sarre,
or
the
the
6 mile
Bugatti
one.
circuit?
No, the proper Le Mans, not
Yeah, the Bugatti circuit's terrible.
Well, yeah, that's why I was, or whatever, because they held a race there that went over like the driving school or something.
And
Le
everyone said
Mans.
it was terrible, and they said
Yeah,
Le Mans is
I
for
know,
Le Mans,
that's
not
what-
for F1 cars. That's what
can
Jim
have
Clark
LMP1
said.
No, Nigel, you can argue it though. You can,
No,
You
you
can have
can't. Move on.
LMP1 cars racing with in a multi-class series of cars at different speeds. You can definitely have 28 of the world's
Are you
best
saying
drivers.
we should have F1
F1
cars at
at
Le
Le
Mans as
Mans.
well? Yes.
That's what I mean. No.
Yes, I'm suddenly for
Don't
this.
ruin Le Mans. Le Mans is one of the best things in the world. I don't.
The opening
GT
lap.
cars and LMP1 cars and F1 cars all driving around it would be brilliant.
The opening lap at Le Mans with F1 would be brilliant. The slipstream would be incredible. I think the racing would be great. What do you think?
I mean,
I agree with that, but Le Mans is Le Mans. It should be for Le Mans and Le Mans only. That's how I see it. I see Le Mans as Le Mans, not as a racetrack, if that makes sense.
I mean, can you not say the same with the Indy 500 yet? NASCAR
well,
race
both
at
of you shut
Indianapolis
that
as well
down.
with the old.
So,
Well, you can if you want, but that's because Indy's a closed facility and everything. Le Mans is streets around the back of the Bugatti circuit. The Bugatti circuit hosts MotoGP, if you want to throw this argument into it. And there's a little kart track next door, fine. But Le Mans is one of the absolute historic moments of motorsport and always will be forever, at least until I'm dead, hopefully. So, and I think Le Mans should remain as it is as a sports car, the pinnacle of sports car racing, and that's what Le Mans is. If you start putting F1 there, then it just cheapens the 24 hours of Le Mans. And I think I'm not here for that.
do you think it would be a good race, Nigel?
I think it will be a fantastic race. I really do, because everyone will be on low downforce, obviously, so the cars will be moving around in the final sector. That'll be a really tough challenge for the drivers. But I think Freddie has got a point there. I do think F1 would take away a little bit from the Le Mans 24-hour race.
In the way that Indy 500 took away, like you say, from the LMP1 cars are as fast as F1 cars anyway.
I'm kind of. I don't
That's
know.
always.
I think having a French Grand Prix, as Nigel says, is a good thing because it is in many ways the kind of birthplace of motor racing. And
I think I've convinced Adam, but I'm not convinced Freddie. But Freddie's convinced me.
You've convinced me and unconvinced yourself at the same time. Yeah, I don't know. We could have like a one-off non-championship race or something there just to see it, but you know,
or just make Le Mans more attractive to drivers. This is a whole different question, but
have F1 cars in Le Mans.
They've got hypercar. They've got hypercar regulations coming into WEC. They've got official announcements on a lot of that coming in the coming weeks. You've got lots of projects coming in the next couple of years to have a very big top class at Le Mans, and I think more should be done to encourage transferable skills across motorsport. If that makes sense, not just a driver as an F1 driver or a sports car driver or an IndyCar driver. You've got the Daytona 24 hours coming up this weekend, and you've got IndyCar drivers, sports car drivers, everyone just going crazy for that because it's the pinnacle of the IMSA calendar and one of the pinnacles of the American motorsports calendar. If you did something like that with Le Mans, where people like F1 drivers want to drive Le Mans as well as F1 at the same time, and so you've got if they can do it, if you're Aston Martin with a fully fledged hypercar class at Le Mans, and they get Lance Stroll or Sebastian Vettel to drive in their car at Le Mans, then not only is it a fantastic publicity stunt, but it's drivers being the stars, and that's, I think, something that would be fantastic. And I'm happy to see F1 drivers at Le Mans, but Le Mans is Le Mans is Le Mans, etc.
I think we're not going to get it in the calendar.
Fred's convinced me.
Yeah, I think
I'd agree with Fred.
Firstly, I'd still like to see F1 cars in Le Mans itself and just have them zooming around. I think that'd be good fun. But also, maybe on a more realistic level, I think it would be. I'd like to see it, but as we said with Bathurst and some of the other tracks, that's probably not enough of a reason on its own to put it in. So that's out. And there are just a few more that we've not mentioned. Donington. I mean, yeah, I'd love that because it's close to Sheffield. I'd also love the Sheffield Streak Circuit. But
Donington was nearly the British Grand Prix from 2010 onwards, but then Silverstone said, "Actually, look at us. We can do things," and built a wing, and that's what happened. Yes, the wing. And I think Donington. I think seeing F1 cars around Donington, it's a simple track. It's got a few technicalities to it. You've got sort of the end of the first sector up to the crane of curves is quite a funky bit of track there. And the rest of it, I think you just see F1 cars around there and they'd be just having a ball, I kind of think. I think it's such a simple track, but it's so loved that I think it would be quite cool to see F1 there. And everyone raves about the 1993 European Grand Prix, and we don't need to go into that because that's only good because Senna did a really good drive. It wasn't actually that interesting a race. I watched it back because everyone said it was a brilliant race. And I was like, no, it's not. But you got a Sonic the Hedgehog trophy. So if there's an excuse to get a Sonic the Hedgehog trophy or something like that in circulation, then let's go to Donington. Why not? Does anyone want to say yes to Donington, please?
I want to, but I don't really feel I can justify it.
I don't know if you can justify taking anywhere else off for Donington. I think if we're talking about countries for 2 Grand Prix, though, Britain is one of them. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. But it also is our dream calendar, so we can put it in if we want to.
Yeah, I don't think we can alternate Silverstone though. Silverstone needs to be there every year because it's the home of Formula One. It's the home of British motorsport. Silverstone. logistically, I'm ruining my argument by the fact that it's come at the end. If it was at the beginning, maybe, but
Would you? I wouldn't mind having it in a 24 race calendar.
yeah, if we're going to do a European Grand Prix, you could do it. What if anything's the European Grand Prix? Then like you could do European Grand Prix alternating between racetracks and like I don't know, is Portimao the European Grand Prix? Have we got that? I don't know. You can alternate it with Portimao.
Portuguese Grand Prix.
That's an issue. We could alternate it with Mugello as a European Grand Prix, as like a second track in a country.
We could just have it in. Or we could have a European Grand Prix slot. I think,
I do think 24 is just too much. If you do 23 and have Mugello and Donington alternating, I think that's quite fun.
We're saying 24 is too much. Wait for next year's calendar when they do have 25.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. I've kind of, yeah.
I think the only reason we've got it is because it is British. I feel like if it was in a different country, we wouldn't even be mentioning them.
But we are British, and it is our calendar.
Yeah,
what made me think about it? What made me think about it? Because when I was looking this up, I saw like a press conference transcript when they were, I think it was when they were at Mugello or something like that, talking about new tracks, and Kimi Raikkonen said how much he thinks Donington would be a really cool track to go to, and that just lodged in my mind. Leclerc said Brands Hatch, and I thought yes, but Brands Hatch I think would be ruined by modern Formula One. Donington, I don't think would be. I think Donington is a track that's old school and good, and would cope with modern Formula One.
You know, I like it. I'm happy to put it in as a kind of roving slot with Mugello or alternating with Mugello or whatever we want.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like
Let's
that.
Go for it.
I don't mind.
Which ruins my next suggestions.
Yeah, I saw that. Long Beach and Vallelunga.
Okay, we can get Long Beach out of the way because that was just a pipe dream. But Long Beach is it's one of the best tracks in the States, in my opinion. I think it's one of those ones that like it's by this beach in California and all of that, and you've got all of that kind of vibe to it, which is obviously exceptionally amazing because that's everyone. If this is dream calendar, that's where they're going to live anyway. So you've got to bear that in mind. But also, it's just, I think historically, it's one of those tracks that in the 80s for F1 and 70s was one of those ones that was always really looked forward to, really cool. And it's always been quite cool for IndyCar when they've been there. And I kind of think whatever layout they choose there would be pretty decent. I don't think there's been that many shoddy layouts around Long Beach. The one they've got now with IndyCar is all right. I think it's pretty good, but yeah, I don't think it's going to slot in nicely with what we've got going in the rest of this calendar, but I thought it deserved at least an honourable mention.
Yeah. It's like the America's version of Monaco. That's how I see Long Beach. But,
yeah.
And finally, Vallelunga.
Vallelunga is it's like Hockenheim, but better in my opinion.
We all love that.
But like you've got kind of cool, fast straights, fast corners, and everything. It felt like a kart track, but mixed with.
That'd be good for F1.
Well, yeah, kart track, but on F1 scale. And you've got really long straight, fast corner back to long straight back, which was old Hockenheim. That's what it reminded me of, old Hockenheim, which everyone wets themselves over for some reason. But and then you get back and it's got like a fiddly bit, but not fiddly in like annoying fiddly in kind of like quite fun to do fiddly. Like, you know, a technical section that's technical because it's good. And then you start the lap again. I think I watched a couple of onboard laps there and I was really won over by Vallelunga. And I don't know, if you want a triple slot with the Donington Mugello European Grand Prix, then Vallelunga, it's in Italy. It's about 40 miles away from Rome, something like that. So.
Problem is, there's 3 Italian tracks that I prefer over Vallelunga. At least 3.
I think it's decent. I prefer it to Imola, and I probably prefer it to Mugello as well.
Really?
But yeah,
give it a chance. Give
it a chance. You can say that to every single track in the world. Give it a chance.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I am.
Yeah, but like
I'm
some
not
track
willing
you
to give it a chance.
You're not.
Give
No.
hope a chance.
Yeah. Give hope, give peace, give...
I've won
We've
Adam
already
over
got
prosperity.
Vallelunga.
2 Italian tracks.
Adam likes it because it's called a Vallelunga as well. You can tell that.
I like that. Yeah, Vallelunga. It sounds Spanish to me, bad. But, yeah.
Vale, that famous
The-
Italian
the-
motorbike
the-
rider.
The problem is that we have got 23 circuits on.
Where are we going for testing then? Let's.
Barcelona. I
Oh,
think. Not Jerez.
It's the
Damn it.
perfect testing track, Barcelona,
Yeah, I'd agree.
it
in my
is,
opinion.
and it's Barcelona's a lovely city.
It is. Yeah.
Okay,
Recommend.
so
Mhm.
I think we're going to have to
We've finally
for
got a final calendar.
wait for someone to, I don't know, come into difficulties to get
Go
Vallelunga on.
bust.
Let's wait for the next
Mm.
pandemic and we can throw in Vallelunga.
That's cheerful note there, Freddie.
Yeah.
It's satire.
Sure, our viewers
Is
will
it?
love to hear that right now.
On a kind of wider point, I do quite like the idea of having a kind of roving slot. I know
Oh,
Chamber has spoken about this, of having kind of a flexible calendar of things moving in and out.
We've
Um,
spoken about it a couple of times, some more serious than others as well on this podcast.
I think it would be nice to have a slot there, and maybe that's one that can kind of incorporate Donington, Imola, Mugello, Vallelunga, Jerez, whatever you want to, kind of giving circuits, I guess, a chance or
The
whatever.
battery's gonna die.
Okay, well,
We need
seeing
to wrap
as
this
that
up then.
is happening, it is probably a good idea to wrap this up anyway. So, in no particular order, we will maybe do a video on putting out an order and kind of getting it into a proper calendar, or maybe presenting that into a proper calendar. But there is a whole host of things you could talk about there. But the tracks we have are Interlagos, Bahrain with a qualifying race on the outer circuit, Monaco, Spa, Montreal, Kota alternating with Road America, Hungaroring, Istanbul, Singapore, Nürburgring alternating with Hockenheim, Red Bull Ring, Sepang, Silverstone, Suzuka alternating with Fuji, with a qualifying race at Suzuka on the short circuit in K cars, Baku, Portimao, Monza, Melbourne, Poterno de las Furnas, Kyalami, Shanghai, Zandvoort, and some roving European slot that has Mugello and Vallelunga and Donington and whatever in. That is our 23 race calendar. Any final thoughts on it? I really like this. I think there's a lot of everything. There's the good Tilke tracks. There's a bit of playing with the weekend, making it an interesting race weekend. There's races on every continent. There's some old school tracks. There's some difficult driving tracks. There's some that get the balance of both quite well. Yeah, I really like it. And there's new circuits that F1 hasn't been to in a while, or hasn't been to at all.
I agree with Adam. I think it gives us a
Probably some
lot. It gives us a lot of different varieties worldwide. It's a global motorsport bonanza every week.
Every two. Oh, we're just doing a 23 race back to back season.
Why not?
We just start in like April and just go every weekend. We're like going from Australia to Japan or something. Oh dear.
Yeah,
That'd be something.
electric planes will be fine.
But yeah, that is it. We will. I guess this is really the kind of trough of F1 news in the year. There is nothing going on. As if there is kind of more news next week, then we'll be doing that. But we don't. We can't create it. So yeah, it should be ramping up though as we go forward. And obviously, once the season starts, then we'll be back on to race previews and reviews. We'll have a season preview coming up, but that's still a month or so away at least. But for now, Freddie, if people haven't heard where they can find us before, would you just like to do a run through of where we
Of course I will.
and listen to?
If you're just discovering us and you're still here, then you can find all of us in different locations. I'm at FredCoats99 on Twitter, 1999 on Twitter even. Nigel is at Nigel C. Journo and Adam is at Adam Dickinson 01. We all tweet there about F1, about random crap, frankly. You can find the podcast on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast. You can go to our podcast provider website on Acast, shows.acast/winging-it-f1-podcast, I think. That's on top of my head, so it's probably wrong, but it'll be in the description below. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter at wingingitf1. And there you will get updates on everything from release dates, upcoming episodes. If we want audience involvement, we'll put out a note there. Please do follow us. Please subscribe. We would love to have as many of you listening to our podcast as possible. It's a joy to do. We all absolutely love it. And thank you so much for listening and watching and indulging us with your time.
Yes. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for listening to this one. Let us know if you'd make changes, which tracks you'd want on the calendar, any random ones or any gaffes that you think we've made that you think are just awful circuits that should have no place in F1. But for now, as I said, thanks very much for listening and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.